That ain't good. There we go. Aim low. Aim lower.
I'm Alabama bound. I'm Alabama bound. If you want me, honey, got to leave this town before the rooster crows. Won't you be like me? Don't you be like me? Drink that sweet black cherry and the elderberry. Let the whiskey be.
Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Garrett, you're watching 11 Bang Bang. Today we have a real treat. That is an original Rogers & Spencer cap and ball revolver. This is probably one of the few originals shot on YouTube. I know Cap and Ball has done it before, but we kind of stumbled on this thing not too long ago, and it's kind of a cool revolver. This is what many people claim to be the best made revolver of the Civil War. You know me, I'm a Colt guy. I love Colts, but I'm not going to argue that point. Now, there are other revolvers I haven't tried, such as the Savage. I would really like to give that a try because I don't know if it might not be a little better engineered, even though it's got more moving parts, of course. But as far as simplicity and ruggedness and downright power go, the Rogers & Spencer wins. The only trouble is, it really wasn't used during the Civil War as far as I can tell. Now, I will tell you this right now. This is not going to be like an episode of the Handguns of Colt video because I don't know that much about these other than what I know from the internet. So, without further ado, let's take a few shots with this thing. Let's load it up. Alright, so I know that most of you don't like to watch these loading sequences, but you might want to watch this one because it's a little bit different than what we're used to. On any Colt or Remington or any cap and ball revolver for that matter, or basically any single action revolver, you will pull the hammer back to half cock, which will be one click, and then full cock, unless it's a single action army, which you go back 2 clicks. Now that's interesting on this because there is technically no safety notch, but this is what I found. You're going to go back 1 click and that frees the cylinder. And I've never seen anybody else point this out. Maybe it's just this gun, I don't know. But the cylinder's free at 1 click. There's 1 click behind it right there. Now the cylinder's locked. Trigger can't be pulled. Hammer is locked up. So I don't know if it's just this gun, someone's put a safety notch in it or not. But then you can go all the way back to full cock and you're ready to go. Which is actually a really good idea because there we are at our free cylinder. You do not have to cock the hammer back and then let it back down to a safety notch. You simply have to cock it back to the next click. And cylinder's locked, hammer's locked, everything's locked up. You guys that have replicas, let me know if they do that because I've never actually seen anybody point that out. But this one definitely works like that. Click 1, free. Click 2, everything locks. Click 3, you're ready to fire. So, we are going to go to the first click. Everything's freed up. Man, this cylinder just spins like a top, guys. All right, so we're going to go ahead and give this a charge of 35 grains and a round ball because, like I said, I think those other conicals were a little hard. We had to do a little whittling on it to get it to fit, but it is on the powder, so. All right, let's try a round ball in there. Oh yeah, there we go. Good soft round ball, went all the way down. We're gonna go ahead and do 35 grains on this load and then we'll do 50 a little later. Now, a little bit different here. If you're not used to something like this, there's no capping groove like you would have on a Colt. But there's plenty of space in this to get that cap. And this original really likes the CCI number 10s, which usually that is what cap and ball or Colt pocket models like. Anyway, we're just going to cap all these up and put it on the safety notch, and we'll go over there and do a little shooting. Okay, so interesting thing on the safety notch, the way that's cut in here, I can actually line the one up I want underneath the chamber, and when you come back from that second safety notch, it does not revolve the cylinder, which is interesting. All right, I have one conical in here. Like I said, they were too hard to load very many. So I'm gonna see if I can hit that one watermelon there with this conical. Probably miss. Yep. No conicals on the watermelons today. All right, here we go. Let's put some round balls on this big plate here. Okay. Now let's go for the watermelon. And a miss. See where they're all hitting on this plate. I go over or under. I'm gonna aim for the middle. I think it's shooting high, maybe? Yes, shooting very high. All right, guys, we're gonna see what this gun will do. 25 yards, because I have no clue where it's actually hitting. I wanna aim for that lower red bullseye and see how high she shoots. I can't see it from here in the dark. And click. Nope, I was aiming for the lower one right on it. Okay guys, I was aiming right here. I put one here, two right here, and let's see, I got one, 2, 3, 4 in the same hole there, and 5, and I believe one went over the top. So yes, this is interesting. We're shooting high and left at this point, like really high and left. It's not too good. Let's load up and try it again though. This is just for the fun of it. But this is basically what I can tell you about it. It was made by Rogers and Spencer at the end of the Civil War, and they turned them out pretty well. They met all their contracts. The military didn't really need them, but they went ahead and got them just to have them on hand. And what wound up happening is they sat in a storehouse. All of the ones that were marked US, 5,000 of them sat in a storehouse from 1865 until 1901. And some people ask, why is that? Well, I have a theory on it, and my theory is that when they started surplusing this stuff off in the late 1860s, early 1870s, they kept these because they considered these to be the best that they had. They had 5,000 of them, and they were good revolvers. My next question is, with all the study on Colt that I have done, there in the Indian Wars, they were people begging for high-quality pistols. The Remingtons at the time, you guys do the research, a lot of people didn't like them, especially down in New Mexico and places like that. People really didn't like them. They would gum up. You know, I'm not nothing bashing the Remington, but there are letters out there that are from commanders begging for Colts. Colt was after the fire, of course, and everything. Colt wasn't putting much out. My question is, why in the world did 5,000 of these stay in inventory in a warehouse when they could have gone west? Now, the downsides of this revolver, and there are a few, the grip. The grip is, of course, this one has a broken grip a little bit, but the grip bells out here at the bottom, just huge sway, and I'm not really fond of that. It doesn't feel like the grip I'm used to on like a Colt. Maybe it's just because I'm used to those. Another thing, that hammer, unless I really readjust my grip, that hammer is a nightmare to reach. But it can be done, and it is a heavy hammer, just like cap and ball revolvers should be. But this upswept hammer, wow, it's way up there. And you guys, I shoot a lot of these. You guys have seen me shoot it. I don't generally have trouble reaching, but I can barely reach it, and then the angle that it has to be pulled is difficult. That's just the two downsides of it. Everything else is perfect, in my opinion. The grip is not my favorite shape. Hammer's way too upswept. The real upside to this is this gun is only slightly bigger than an 1860 Army. It's considerably bigger than a Remington, but it holds as much powder as the Colt Dragoon. So basically, this is a Dragoon with a top strap. Now, this gun right here, fully charged with a round ball, will hold 50 grains. I do know people who have replicas who shoot 55 grains. And I believe that is because when I look in this cylinder, I can tell it's sort of coned, just like the 1860 Armies were. And they did that because, as you see the cylinder notches right there, when this gun was made, it was not made of steel like today. Granted, this was not 1840 steel. This was 1860 steel. It was a little better. You know, you got the Bessemer process going on. Depending on where Rogers and Spencer got their steel, this could be really good steel. It could be not really good steel. But that cylinder notch right there is right in the middle of the chamber. And on a lot of these guns, when they did burst in the early 1860s, not Rogers and Spencer's, but on the Colt 1860 Armies, they burst not because the cylinders were fluted, but because the notch right there was too thin between the chamber wall and where the stop notch is there, of course. So what a lot of people did was they would cone the inside of the chamber so it's thicker walled back here at the back. And I think that the replicas probably have a straight wall chamber all the way back, so they can hold about 5 more grains. Neither here nor there, 50 grains is still a horse pistol to be in a gun this size. That's 20 more grains than you can legitimately get in the 1860 Army, and 10 more grains than you can legitimately get in the Remington. Even though, like I said, these probably all use the same paper cartridges at the time. All right, guys, so now that I know this thing's shooting about 13 inches high, I'm actually going to try aiming below the railroad tie on that watermelon. And there it was. Yeah, she's just shooting really high. I was aiming for a little plate there, missed. There we go. I'm aiming about 5 inches below the plate, slightly to the right. And I think I still went over it. Yeah, I did. All right, I think I got one left here. I'm gonna try that little plate one more time. Kentucky windage reversed. Hey, I aimed that far below the plate at that range and hit it. So, yeah, all right, now we know what we're doing. Let's load her up one more time. And we will go out and attack the Ghost of Cowboy Bob. What do you say? I think it's shooting low like that. Mostly because, I believe it's shooting low like that, mostly because probably it's the holster wear on the front side. It's really rubbed down. That thing has been carried a lot in its life. All right, guys, let's go out here and put a few on the Ghost of Cowboy Bob, and we'll end this kind of short video on the original Rogers and Spencer. That ain't good. There we go. Aim low. Aim lower. I get to climbing up and shooting at the center, and it's going over his head. Click. Is that everybody? All right. I want to point this out, guys. This is about 6 cylinders in. Haven't had a single cap jam, so no Colt issues. No lube whatsoever. So, you know, I don't know what the difference really is, but this dude right here has Remington beat all to pieces when it comes to the cylinder not sticking. With 50 grains of powder, here we go. Where I did. Where'd that one go? It came out of the barrel, all right. One more try. That did it. Guys, that is there goes our camera again. That is a small Dragoon. And that just shoots like a dream for 50 grains. The barrel, all right. One more try. That did it. That is there goes our camera again. That is a small Dragoon.
Okay, let's see if I can hit anything. Too high? She's fine.
So, these sat in a warehouse for 40 years until 1901 when a man named Bannerman bought them, and he bought them at 25 cents per gun. A little over 20, like a fraction of a penny over 25 cents per gun. Put them in his catalog and sold them for $4 a piece, basically, maybe a little less. But the long and short of it is he sold them all by 1903. And these guns were used in the 20th century, which really makes this the last hurrah for cap and ball revolvers. Now, the thing that I find interesting about that is that you're not going to see a lot of paper cartridges when these things were being used in like 1910, you know. You're going to see a lot of loose powder and ball and people shooting them because they're cheap, economical, and very, very powerful. This one right here is marked U.S. stamps, so we know that it was in the warehouse probably. It also has a very, you can't even make it out on the camera, but there is a number 46 scratched on here in an initial. It looks like the initial B. Somebody scratched it in there with a pocket knife, and it's just barely visible there now, which is kind of interesting to me because I don't think any police forces or anything were using these that they would need a number on them like that in the 1900s. But just look at this thing. The grip is chipped. The barrel has a little bit of patina, you know, a little bit of pitting on the outside. Inside of this gun is immaculate. And everything else, you know, it looks like it's used. And that's very interesting considering it wasn't even on the market until after 1900, probably 1903, somewhere around that. That means people were still using these guns, probably in the West or somewhere where it was a little bit difficult to get cartridges, a lot. This gun has been used a lot. When we got it, it had a broken bolt spring, bolt and trigger spring. It has a really large bolt and trigger spring that looked just like a Colt. And when we got it, that was broken. Well, someone had gone in there and replaced it with a piece of copper. So that tells me that probably somewhere in the 1910s or 20s, somebody broke it and tried to repair it because they were still using it. So anyway, what do I think about this? I love this gun. If it didn't shoot so high, and like I said, you can see where this front sight has just rubbed down to nothing, and this thing is literally just shooting at the moon. As Duelis would say, this is a danger to low-flying aircraft. But I really like it. It's big, but not as big as a Dragoon. It can be worn on the belt, as you can see. We're actually carrying it today in the Duke Frazier Mexican triple loop here, and fits pretty good. But yeah, not too big. Big is about the same size as I would say a Schofield, and a lot of power, a whole lot of power for its day. Now, I'm still questioning why in the world this thing didn't end up in the Indian Wars. Well, it might be because, like I've said before, I can barely reach that hammer. I can crawl up. If I crawl up every shot, I can reach it, but it's kind of a bear to get to. But I don't know. Definitely the last hurrah for the cap and ball revolver, and in my opinion, about the best it could be for a gun to go out on. And you know, you see a lot of these things probably running around 1910, 1920. So yes, very interesting piece. Shoots really good, shoots really high, but like I said, you notice we didn't have a Cap Jam 1. But anyway, that's all we got. Trust in God, keep the powder dry. Bye.